Welcome to the Model Rail Replacement Podcast, helping you get to your onward journey. A friendly service that helps you get from A to B, or probably nowhere at all.
Hello and welcome to the Model Rail Replacement Podcast. It's season 2, episode I can't remember. I think it's 10, but I'll have to check with my co-host. I'm your host, James, and my co-host and producer is
Sam, yes, it's episode 10.
No,
Happy?
you told me about 2 minutes ago, but I forgot.
I did the preemptive, right? Here's what season it is, here's what episode it is, and you forgot. But then if I was in your position and having to announce the show, I'd do the same. So,
Yeah, my brain don't work so well these days. Or most days. Hasn't worked very well for the last 39 years, to be honest. But anyway, how are you? Have you been up to any modelling?
I have been up to some modelling. So I've been running trains in the background whilst I've been working. Um, I will say I have finally bitten the bullet and got my first 009 thing. I got the Bagman Brewery, the brewery Dragman, the Raglan Road diesel in 009.
Yeah,
Uh,
good,
uh,
excellent,
uh,
excellent.
I've
You're
been eyeing
becoming
up
one of that.
I've been eyeing up what sort of rolling stock to get for it, and I think I'm going to go for the box fans because I really like those. Although I think the Tipler wagons suit the little diesel more, but I think rolling stock wise, I prefer the box fan type style. So I'm either going to look at kits or I'm going to save up my pennies and get some of the box fans. But what I really want, if anybody's out there and they are looking at selling one of the little Quarry Hunslets, either Linda, Britomart, or whatever. I don't think it is Linda. But the little Quarry
Linda's
Hunslets.
mainline. Huh?
Not the mainline ones. I want the little
Yeah,
tiny oval.
Dorothea, Britomart, Alice, and there's a black one I can't remember. They were the
Cool.
four that they released.
Excellent. Basically, whatever they released in NG7, which is still available everywhere. If anyone has one of the 009 ones and they are looking to sell one and not mug me off, get in touch because I really, really want one of those little Quarry Hunslets. So I've got one of those. I have spent the last few days. I've actually been editing some of our stuff that we have pre-recorded. James and I, as we're approaching quite a busy season, for me work-wise, because as soon as the weather gets bad, my work gets quite busy. And we're just trying to sort of keep on top of everything. So James and I have done a lot of pre-recording. So I've done a lot of editing this week, which has been quite nice. And also, I have been building my station platforms from Bunter's Yard. Now, it feels like my layout is sponsored by Bunter's Yard because with with the bridge and all of my station platforms. However, if you've not seen Dave's station platforms, they're so good. They're so easy to build, and I think they take a lot of the guesswork out of your station platforms because I used the old Pico platform sides and then tried to make curve platforms before, and I hated it when I finished it. It was one of the parts of the layout that I hated seeing. Like I could see all the imperfections of it, and I didn't enjoy it. Um, but Dave's done an absolutely outstanding job with these. So I've been building all the station platform areas to sort of build out that board, and I know for a fact I said I wasn't going to start on that board, but but I got distracted. I suddenly decided I wanted to build all my station platforms. So
You
apologies to
lied to us
everyone.
all.
I did. But yeah, otherwise, I've been doing some weathering, just like little bits. I've been very, very, very busy. It's hobby season, isn't it? So
Yeah.
I've and I haven't had any shows now for the last couple of weeks. So I've finished my show season up until the new year now. Um, and then I've got some time to work on my hobby whilst doing other bits and bobs as well. But yeah, how about you, James? What have you been up to?
Well, I've also been doing some platforms actually. I've been doing the Metcalf kit, so I was maybe I should have looked at Bunter's Yard, but yes, I've been building the platforms to go on the Engage layout. I've been building for the boy, and like you say, yeah, some of the guesswork when it comes to the curves. So I had a nice straight platform for platform one, but platform two and three have a curve at the end, and trying to get it all lined up, and they're not quite parallel either. So it's sort of getting that measurement right, isn't it? Where I know they recommend using a pencil on the side and sort of marking it out, but in Engage, that's a hell of a gap that pencil starts leaving.
Yeah.
So you're like, they're going to have to jump to get on these coaches. So I've been trying to work out how to measure it and make it so the platform gap between the coaches and the platform isn't too vast, but also allows the coaches to pass through. And yeah, it's become a little bit more difficult on the other platforms trying to get it, especially that bit of curve. So yeah, there's something a bit more easier out there. That's quite cool. Although I did think of a product I thought might be make life easier, but I'm not going to tell anyone on here because I actually think it's quite a good idea. So that's what I'm saying there.
We'll
Uh,
wait for a manufacturer to approach us and ask for the James
oh yeah,
specific.
no, yeah. If someone wants to have a word with me, I'll and maybe we can talk business. But yeah, that's what I'm saying on that one. But yeah, I've been doing the same otherwise. I've been building up the old 009 collection still, a few parts there. Although I say that, I did have a spontaneous Acura scale buy the other day as well. Because I kept seeing those Andrew Barclay tank engines everywhere. And then I saw him at the show at Gaydon, and then Joseph put a video up of from the Rapido exhibition a couple of months back, and there's a really nice colliery layout, and it was on there. So that's that model railway guy. If I was not sure who I'm referring to there, but he's done a video of a very nice colliery layout. Um, and so yeah, I was like, screw it, I really like that. I'm going to get one. And so I went on the Curacao, and the one I wanted, he said it was out of stock, so I ordered it. I ordered a different one. But then, strangely, yesterday the email came out and said they've arrived to be dispatched, and then the one I wanted was showing in stock. So I was like, oh, a bit confusing. But I'm going to stick with the one I've ordered now. Done. What's done is done.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's and I had cleared the layout because you kept telling me. Well, hang on a minute. Where are we? That would be in this episode. Yes, in this
Oh,
episode, you want me to do a running session. Um, so yeah, I had cleared the layout in preparation of doing that, but since then there's crap all over it again. So it didn't last very long, and I didn't run anything either. I've been too busy with the Engage layout.
ah,
But
you will do it. I know you will because otherwise I
I will
automatically
get around
win.
to it. I thought I was almost there with the Engage layout, so I'd sorted all the points out and everything through, and the only thing I had to do was wire up the turntable and the track running to that. And I did that the other night, and then I just wandered into more problems, and it turned out one of them was because I'd wired up some wires the wrong way round, which um so it was the power connectors. I had to unscrew them so I could access what I was soldering on the turntable. When I screwed them back in, I screwed them back in back to front, and I didn't even realize it. So could work out why bits of the layout were working, but other bits weren't. I was like, why on the isolating switch? And then they've worked that one out. And then some of the points weren't throwing, but it turned out I just had to press the button really hard because yeah, I soldered them all to the switches, and there was like, they're still not working. I don't know what's going on here. And then just pressed the button really hard, and then it worked. I was like, oh right, they're just dodgy buttons. So I thought I was there, but then the last thing to do was the cassettes and working out how to get the power to the cassettes, and I was struggling and struggling and struggling because the aluminium angle I'd used won't take the solder, so the solder just keeps coming off, so that's not working. And I was like, I had to think of a different solution. Um, and in the end, I thought, you know what, it'd just be easier just to put some track down and just have a conventional fiddle yard. One because I think some of the cassettes are a bit too big for the boy. If he picks them up with like a five coach train and a loco, I've got a feeling that all it needs is one little tip and they'll all be on the floor.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go rob the points off his other engaged layout he's got in his room, and have to go without a layout for a little bit, and I'll build him a fiddle yard, like a proper fiddle yard on the back of this layout. Hopefully it'll all run. And oh yeah, we started the scenic bit. So I've built the engine shed. That's all built now. And as I say, I'm building the platforms. And I think the scenic side of things, this should go up quite rapidly because it's all very urban. Not a lot of countryside scenics to do, which is a curious topic because that's what we're going to be talking about next week. Yeah, maybe we talk about more about that next week. But yeah, that's kind of where I am. That's why kind of the OO's been left behind. But also I've been planning this 009 build that I want to do, which I'm almost ready to start on. So
Good. That's what I like to hear.
almost, almost ready. I found some points for it because I thought I had to buy some points, and then I was going through the track box looking for some points for the N gauge layout, and I was like, some 009 points in here. So and and then we're a left one and the right one. I was like, I need a left and a right. This is excellent. So yeah, there's only two more bits I want to buy, and then I should be ready to start my 009 build. Yeah, I've got lots in the pipeline, a lot in the pipeline. But yeah, I'll try and do a running session.
Good, because otherwise people will listen to the rest of this episode and they'll be like, "Oh, I haven't seen it." So, and it's quite a big part in our in our chat as well.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
So, talking of big parts, shall we talk about the big news of the week?
Yes, let's talk news. What would you like to discuss first?
Well, we'll get the smaller things out of the way. Curaçao finally announced their exclusive Class 37 for, I think this is the third batch of 37s they're doing, isn't it? And these ones have working fans as a little upgrade.
Yes.
And as predicted, it is the Lorem Services red and white Class 37. It looks very nice. But
Yeah.
I think the only thing that needs now is Revolution to do another run of the Caroline inspection cars, because that's what this loco mostly runs with.
Mm.
So I kind of need the coach to go with the loco. So I'm like, I wouldn't mind buying that loco, but without the coach, got no need for it. But he does look very, very smart, very nice. So but yeah, and it was like, yay, we got a prediction right. And then they kind of gave it away in the photo on the website, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, I'm still intrigued as to what the square buffer one is. That's the only one we don't know. I haven't seen a picture of. There's one that's got square buffers in the picture rather than the round buffers like all the other ones have. So that's my.
Yeah.
I am intrigued.
I'll just go back and look at that one and try and decipher which one that one is.
You're the best person to go and have a look at that rather than me.
So,
There was also let me just check my notes. Oxford Rail. There's two bits about Oxford Rail this week.
oh yeah, Oxford Rail. Oh, yeah, it's quite big news that one, isn't
Uh, so they are doing a re-release of their motor rail car flats, which is basically it's a little bit like when you're driving down the motorway and you see a lorry with all the cars for the dealership on the back. Now imagine that in a model rail form for
Yes,
the actual
the
railway.
motor rail wagons. Yeah, so back in the 70s, I think,
Mm,
trying to entice people to keep using the train, they'd run services to the coast, and you could usually drive on it somewhere like Kensington, Olympia, if you lived in London, and then on
mm.
the back of the train, you go sit in the coach, and they'll take you all the way to Cornwall, and then you drive off, and there you are, you're on holiday. Um, so yeah, that's nice to see them returning then. But
Yeah.
it's interesting because Oxford Rail is to be sold off, isn't it, as part of the never changing Hornby branding.
The thing that I thought that was most interesting about this is the the model railway community didn't post it from this point of view, but people outside of model railways posted it as a slant that Mike Ashley to save Hornby. Like it was a big, I don't know if you had this pop up on your phone, but obviously because I'm into trains, it pings through news articles it thinks I'm going to like. And one of them was about how Mike Ashley, in order to save Hornby, decided to sell off Oxford Rail, which seems a little
Hmm.
bit different to how it was modelled by other people.
It's yeah, I not. So I think there's a lot of things that have been going in the background there. So Lyndon, he's also stepping down as the director at Hornby, isn't he?
Mm,
And this is the case of, I believe, last year after the Warley show, he fell very ill,
mm,
and that it was announced by, I think, his daughter via Oxford Rail sort of newsletter that he'd been a bit poorly, and they were hoping he'd have a speedy recovery in that. And I think maybe she was stepping in, just taking over for a bit. And then it kind of, I mean, maybe they did announce something, and I didn't, I don't recall seeing anything, but yeah, there's that going on. There's a bit of ill health, I suppose, and from what I understand, the Oxford Rail is being sold back to the family, so
right, okay.
it's their company again. So yeah, curious what's going on there, but you'll also be curious to see if we'll see a return of these Oxford Rail toolings like their Adams Radial and Dean's Goods and all the stuff they sort of worked on that kind of came out and then disappeared. But like you say, if the motor rail uh, flats are making a return, maybe some other Oxford Rail products will start to venture back into the market. Who knows?
Here's the thing, it's Oxford Diecast that's been sold off, not Oxford Rail.
How curious.
Now, the fact that you didn't know this makes me worry that I've not read it correctly. But I'm pretty sure when I read it, it was Oxford Diecast that has been sold off, not Oxford Rail. So
Oh,
effectively, like,
I thought it would go all under the same umbrella as it was sort of.
well, if you look carefully, they do advertise things as Oxford Diecast or Oxford Rail. There is usually
Yeah.
a distinction between it. It's a little bit like how Bachmann do the FE and the Bachmann. Like it's not all under the same
Yeah.
umbrella.
Okay.
So I wonder
Oh,
if it's a case of they're keeping the rail stuff and Oxford Diecast are just going to be keeping all of the cars and stuff like that.
oh. Maybe, maybe. That's I suppose you have to wait and see on that one.
Any of our
I would have
eagle-eared
thought the car
listeners,
side of things would have done all right, but can't be too expensive to produce those little models, I suppose. I don't know. What do we know?
maybe
Yeah,
maybe Hornby
we
just
just
don't
don't
like
like
that
that.
part of it.
Maybe, but they got Corgi.
Yeah, yeah. Who know? Who knows? I could be
Mhm.
very wrong, and my
We,
information could be very incorrect.
we got a lot of speculating. Yeah, we're not saying anything. We're just speculating. Let's cover
Yeah.
ourselves.
None of this has any actual grounds to it. Ignore us. However, there was also some pretty big announcements this week, James.
Yes, indeed. It was the week of the Bachmann Winter announcements, and it was one for really Steam fans, wasn't it? It's quite a Steam-heavy collection of announcements with many products. First up in the announcements from Bachmann is their usual Collectors Club model, and this year they have announced, or this quarter, I suppose, it's a Royal Mail brake van, isn't it? And OO gauge and N gauge.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. Bachmann have always done the Royal Mail red and gold very, very well. I think it's one of their really strong pieces of rolling stock that they've done. And I think the brake van looks stunning. It would be one of those things that I wouldn't mind having on my layout just to be there.
Yes, it's got that attractive bright red about it, isn't it? So it's kind of interesting. I don't know what trains it used to run behind, to be honest. I'm not. Maybe it's sort of the early days of before they had the driving vans where they reversed the post trains into the terminus station, so get them in there quick and get them out quick, kind of thing. Maybe it's that's kind of because that's by the late 80s, 90s. If there was a brake van on the end of the train, it wasn't there for braking. It was usually because a train had to be reversed somewhere. And I know that they used to Queen Mary on the back of stone trains around one of the branch lines on the Southern. So you'd have a couple of 33s pushing this train back and a Queen Mary at the front of it.
It's a little bit
Um,
like the Network Southeast brake vans that they do in a sort of a double set, isn't it?
oh yeah, them, yeah. So they used it like barrier vans, weren't they, to when they went and collected all the new deliveries of the 465s, I think they were sandwiched between them, maybe the 165s and 166s as well.
I'm gonna have to have a look for those because it's one of those things I've always looked at and gone, Network Southeast, why? Why do they? And I'll have to go to my friend Flickr and see if there's anything on there. But yeah, so as a collectors club announcement, I think that's a pretty good one. It's not too expensive, but it is really nice. I instantly went, oh, that's nice. Maybe I'll pick one up. I do feel like this winter announcement, as well as being very Steam heavy, I also feel N-Gage people really lucked in with the amount of announcements that they got.
Well, it's about time. I think that Engage has been a bit lacking recently, but they've what did they get? I suppose is the question.
All right,
What
bear with
was
me.
for the Engage aficionado?
Okay, so bear with me on this one because there's a lot. So, or at least there's a lot in comparison to usual. So, the LMS 10,001 or the LMS 10,000, they are coming out in sound fitted models for Graham Farish in various guises. You're also getting various guises and levels of the Class 41 warships. The very popular Bachmann servicing depot, which is used on a lot of TMDs and stuff in double O gauge. That's being done in N gauge in a blue and red version. You're also getting a two-road engine shed in N gauge. You're getting signal boxes. You're getting a whole assortment of Mark II-A rolling stock. So if you're modeling sort of the era that we're seeing a lot of at the moment, the 80s and 90s. There's a lot of rolling stock in there for you in BR Blue, ScotRail, and West Coast Railways. There's a really nice, they've called it the March Station. Uh, kits, and they've got sort of three various buildings that all club together and can make a building. They're also doing post office vans in the BR Blue and in the Royal Mail Red. You're also getting some full brakes in Crimson and Cream and BR Maroon. You're getting an Oust house, which is or Oast, which is OAST. You're getting some more Mark 1 CCTs, and you're also getting some nice scenery in the form of provender stores, canopies, small industrial units, and bits and bobs like that. It's out of all of the announcements I've seen over the last few years of being in the hobby, I feel like this is possibly the biggest N gauge one. It's still not as big as the Double O version, but I feel like what the N gauge offering has in this one is definitely a big one.
The only thing it is lacking is steam engines.
Yeah, which is
I mean,
ironic
it's a single.
considering the Double O.
But yeah, I mean the two road engine shed that they're doing that looks like a very nice model. As you say, the modern servicing depot, that's going to be a welcome addition. I think that's retailing at 79.95. And obviously, if you look around, you might be at your retailer discount. Yeah, there's an Oast house. They look for quite cool. I think they're sort of Kent area, those kind of buildings, aren't they? So yeah, there's a nice selection of things there. Plenty, like you say, plenty to if you want a model March station, which is that'll be sort of a Great Eastern or yeah, sort of LNER BR Eastern region sort
Mm.
of model. If you're looking at that sort of thing, and yeah, as I say, you're very sport for choice with the post office vans.
Yeah,
That's definitely a running theme at Bachmann at the moment. Post office and all the trains and like that. And there's a nice model of Roxham signal box.
yeah.
It's,
There's a lot of really nice N-Gage stuff. So if you're an N-Gage modeler at the moment, I imagine that you will be quite pleased with the Bachmann winter announcements. But
definitely.
going on from N-Gage, quickly talking about 009, I was a little bit surprised. I thought there would have been. I even said to you, I think the day before, I said I reckon there's going to be a new 009 loco and some new 009 rolling stock. And technically, there is new 009 rolling stock, but we already knew about it. But we're seeing the decorated samples of it. Um,
Yes.
it's the Festiniog brakes and the tin cars that they announced about a month or two ago. But very, very nice models. Like I can't deny that. You're looking at £65 recommended retail price, but if you go to online retailers or your local model shop, they might be cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah. There's yeah, I thought that we might have seen a loco. It's been some time since there's been a delivery of a 009 ready to run loco. I think
I
maybe your diesel shunter that you've just recently purchased is probably the latest model um, that they've
Yes.
done. I mean, I know they've got the Bachmann USA for some reason. It's under that branding of the Tanner Clin, um, either arriving or too soon arrive, and but that's about it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, as I say, I was a little bit shocked by it, but we can't have everything. As I say, there was a really good showing in the N-Gage stuff, so you can't be mad. They didn't skimp on what they were announcing, I think is
No,
a fair point. But
yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure 009 will be looked after next time. But yeah, the coaches do look very nice. The only one I'm not such a keen fan on is the Festinio Grau, the brake third in that yellow and crimson. That looks hideous.
I think it in general looks like a weird. I'm not going to say hideous because it makes it sound like a hate. I think they are a very weird piece of rolling stock, and I think that's what shocks me about the 009 stuff is none of it seems to be normal run of the mill stuff. It's all really eccentric models that are doing of it at the moment, and I think that's why you don't have any of this normal. I guess with 009, there's not a lot in the grand scheme of things. So if you do spread it out, then great.
Yeah,
I'm surprised we're not seeing more of the Talaclin locos. That's what I'm surprised at the moment. I would expect to see because there's quite a lot of them, and it's probably one of the most popular. I'm surprised we're not seeing that, but maybe that's something. Who knows? The spring announcement may be exceedingly joyous for us on the 009 front.
yeah, you never know. Yeah, no, I quite like the. sorry, I'll correct myself. I quite like the brake furs. I think they look quite cool, but there's a yellow and crimson livery. I think looks horrible
It
compared
do-
to the very beautiful lined plum. It's just not for me. But yeah, I am more. I mean, I don't know if I hear you hear rumors of oh, it's because of the licensing with the Thomas engines and the likes of using them, and I don't quite understand how the Mattel have the rights to the Tanner-Klin locos. I mean, if you want to model a Fletcher Jennings loco, it's a Fletcher Jennings loco. It's not a Thomas engine. It just happens that a Thomas engine is based on that, not the other way around. But yeah, I'm surprised we don't see much more Tanner-Klin stuff. Um, it's one of the more popular Welsh railways, I would say, probably with
yeah,
Festini.
yeah. I think unless there was an agreement that for the meantime, most of their focus is going to go on the Thomas and Friends range for narrow gauge.
Hmm.
Because at the end of the day, the second they stop doing the Thomas and Friends ones, which are priced at the same price point as the normal 009 stuff, I'd be sure. You and I were talking about how people steal the Thomas and Friends bodies or chassis, and then they put a 3D printed body on it. So those Thomas and Friends locos won't sell anywhere near as much once they release the other versions. And I was speaking to a model shop today, and they were talking to me about how it is very much how you have Bachmann USA and Bachmann, and how although they share the same name, they are two separate entities, and it's a little bit like Virgin Atlantic and Virgin Media.
Yeah,
Like I know both of them deal with trains, but that's the best likeness I can give to it on what they
yeah,
feel.
yeah. So the tooling suites, but bizarrely, the Thomas and Friends rolling stock is the Pico Linton and Barnstable um, tooling.
How weird.
Yeah, so it's it's a whole crazy mishmash. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what licensing agreements they have and why they do what, but that's why I always find it quite curious that you have all these Thomas and Friends wagons, and you look at them and go, "Why would I pay that?" Because obviously you're paying for the license fee on top of it
Mm.
when you can just buy an advanceable one and paint it the same color.
It's a little bit like the Lego tax, isn't it? How if you buy a Star Wars Lego set or a Lord of the Rings Lego set or any IP that's attached to it, or the Harry Potter ones, you almost have to pay the tax on top of it of because it's an IP, it's suddenly way more expensive. Whereas if you buy like
Yeah,
the Lego City stuff, it's I'd say more fairly priced, or it seems more fairly
yeah, you get
priced.
you get you get more bricks for your money
Yeah, your
and
investment in
miniatures.
bricks. So quickly then, let's have a quick chat about the double O stuff. So I know the one thing that really stood out to me in the double O announcement. Was there anything in particular that made you go, "Oh, I might have to purchase that"?
I think it's quite interesting that there is a lot of period two making an appearance.
Hmm.
So you've got that the LSWR Adams, obviously they announced that previous, but now they've announced deliveries. That looks quite nice. You've got the LNWR G2A or
Hmm.
Super D, as they were later known under the LMS, and that's coming out in LNWR liveries. The Midland Railway 1532 tank locomotive in the Midland Railway livery. Nice to see Duck make it for the Thomas and Friends um, collection, and I don't think not too bad a price
But
if you get the retailer discount for a Thomas
what was
logo.
really weird about that is that was going to be my comment about it. It is a very, very fair price, and I'd say possibly one of the most fair priced starter locos if you're getting your child or if you are buying a Thomas and Friends loco for yourself, because that's what happens. I feel like that is a very, very fairly priced double O gauge loco.
Yeah, I thought so. I don't think Daisy's too bad either, to be honest. Um,
So there's your pannier and your 121 bubble car.
technically, she was a 101 with two cabs, but there we are. We've done it again. We've gone into the Thomas Road. Yeah, there's some nice scene craft stuff, and that I think the biggest shock to me is those LNWR coaches because we talked about the other week they were announced their new tooling, and does seem to be a bit of a controversial subject online as well. Is that price point?
Yeah.
They are I mean, they're very nice. And I understand that the LNWR livery is a lot more complex and takes a lot more of the Tampo printing to get the effect. But yeah, when you're looking at a recommended retail price of 99.95 for a coach, which I don't think these have lights in them either.
No, I
Um,
can't see anything on them that gives them any specialist. There's no specialist mention of lighting on the. So I'm looking on the Rails of Sheffield website because they usually include all of the additional features and stuff like that. And I can't see, having a quick glance at it, there's no lighting inside these.
yeah,
And
I mean the LNWR ones, they look gorgeous. They look absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, that's a chunky old price to pay if you want to start building up a train. Um, and then you've got the Midland Railway variety and the Midland Great Northern, which was the joint railway that ran across the top of Norfolk.
yeah,
So that those coaches got displaced to there later in life and ended up in the LNER teak or fake teak, brown sort of colour.
mm.
But
When
even then, after your discount price, I mean, I was quite excited by it. As I say, I thought the LNWRs ones would be quite nice, and I thought about maybe getting some because I had an idea that I wanted to do an LNWR North Wales station for my 009 trains to meet, and I thought, yeah, those coaches would go quite well with that. But yeah, it's a big old chunk of money.
it is when you consider that for an extra couple of quid you can get yourself a Great Western Pannier tank.
Yeah, it's
Like looking at it on Rails, so the RRP for the most expensive of the coaches is the dark claret and white LNWR 50-foot coach. The recommended retail price is £110. The recommended retail price of the next thing price wise against it is the Great Western Pannier tank, which has a recommended retail price of £125. So for £15 more, you could get yourself Tank Engine, which after you take into account some retailer discounts, I'm looking at one that's £94 for the coach and £106.20 for the Great Western Pannier. So I don't know about you. I know which one I'd pick.
But I just it's really nice, and I think it's great that Bachmann have ventured into a more sort of different style of coach, and I'm assuming by the fact that we're not seeing BR livery is that these coaches didn't, or or maybe a few might have done it, but didn't really make it to the BR period, and so
Yeah.
therefore maybe that's what pushes the price up because your BR models are always going to be your better sellers, I suppose, as it's the more popular modeling period. But yeah, I just hope it's not a sign of things to come. And this is what we're going to be looking at in the future, and because some tough decisions have to be made of really what you model and how much you can do, really, I suppose. But
I think the biggest thing here is last week, I think it was, we were talking about the Irish Rails Akira Scale loco, which because it's a one-off does have a price increase on it versus the normal Akira Scale stuff. So let's give them benefit of the doubt for now. That because these are an obscure thing, you won't be able to have as many of them. They won't. There's a very minute time scale that these will be running. Well, I'd say we give them the benefit of the doubt for now that it's because these are not going to be run in such a large batch that they will be priced more. And as we've already said about the Pannier tanks in previous episodes, the tooling is old. It's 8-pin DCC inside of there, so they're not necessarily trying to make their costs back on this. I guess at the moment it's quotation marks profit for this.
you're getting lost in your timeline now because it's this episode we talk about it.
Curses. I've ruined myself. And also, I think Bachmann have done a little bit of I'd say it's a wise move on their part. They've released Pannier tanks a few months before a possible competitor Pannier tank is coming out. So you know what? If you release your Pannier tank for what's that? It's probably about £50, £60 cheaper than your competitor ahead of time before Christmas. Maybe this is a good move for Bachmann.
Yeah, the Pannier tanks, like you say, that's a very little crafty move just to have theirs arrive just before Christmas, just before another competitor. But I quite like the shirt button one, and that looks quite smart. But yeah, the Great Western models really had a treat this winter, haven't they? Because you've got the 5600 class that's also making a return,
Mm-hmm.
and the the Small Prairie, the 4575. Also before another competitor, although the competitor is making a different variant of the Small Prairie. But
Yeah.
yeah, nice to see them in the collection. Obviously, there's a collection of private owner wagons, the usual sort of offerings from Bachmann. And then I suppose last of all to cover is the London transport offerings.
Ooh.
Very nice, aren't they? So there's actually two. There is the 4TC set, which is I think a recommended retail price of 399.95. But if you shop around and look for a 15% discount, you can get it for considerably lower than that. And I think it's the 4TC set everyone's been crying out for, and I think quite a few people have bought the previous Kerno ones and had them repainted. So I'm sure there's a couple of people out there cursing themselves now that they didn't wait. But
I can tell you for a fact, just to the right of me on my desk, there is a London Transport 4TC that is currently being painted. And I did this little watch. I watched the video and then went, no. I was just like, I mean, it's not for me in terms of the actual model that I'm repainting, but I felt bad that I'm in the middle of painting one for someone. Um, this
damn you and your efficiency.
this is my standout. I mean, there's no shock there. Anyone who's been to any diesel gala, especially over the last 3 or 4 years, this will be no stranger. These appear, they've been at every diesel gala I've been to recently. And I know they've been to a lot of different diesel galas thanks to Instagram. I think you are right. It is a unit that people have been crying out for because it's that thing of what EMUs can you run on your heritage railway? Well, you know what? You can run this 4TC because it's everywhere. It goes to every
Yep.
diesel gala.
Yeah, yeah, I've seen it. Actually, it was at the Swanage Diesel Gala in 2018 when they ran from West Ealing, no, Ealing Broadway to Swanage because one of my work colleagues was on it, and I met him at the Swanage station, so he came in on it, and it was a pair of 20s on the front and a 33 on the back of it, if I recall.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But yeah, like you said, they get everywhere, and they get all over the main line as well.
Yeah. And it's such a beautiful unit, and I think it's one of those units. So if this is the first time you're hearing of a 4TC, let's cut out something that always gets asked to me whenever anyone asks about a 4TC. No, it is not powered. This is effectively, visually, looks like an EMU. It's not motorized though. These Danny and Pete are going to be screaming at this. I'm trying to simplify it as best as I can. So these are multiple units that usually ran with another set of powered multiple units. And as you can see, you've got the connectors at either end, so you can connect them to other multiple units. They could also be connected to other multiple unit working units, which stereotypically down in the south were Class 73s or Class 33s. There were other units that did it, but most of the videos that you see a 4TC running is one of these. What used to happen was you would have these connected up in a set. So let's say it was a 12-car electric multiple unit set with one of these 4TCs in it. What would happen is it would get down to somewhere like Bournemouth, where the electrified line runs out, and then you would have a 33 connect up to the other end, take away the 4TC section, and would take that down to Weymouth. I'm really sorry if anyone's listening to this and I've butchered that explanation, but that's the simplest way. It was effectively so that it could run in a multiple unit, and then a diesel loco could come, pick up the 4TC set and run it off. They also used to run in Portsmouth as well. They were quite popular when there was a non-electrified, so like a Sunday working and stuff like that. Or if it was running to Waterloo via Eastleigh, you used to get it where they would run there because the Southampton to Portsmouth part wasn't electrified, whereas the Havant section that ran up to Waterloo was. So, in essence, if you're thinking about buying this thinking that it has a motor, it doesn't. Let's clarify that right now.
Yep, yeah, they're lovely model, but as you say, there'd be no motor in that. But, There's also one other London Transport announcement, and that was with the London Transport shop, which is having a Bachmann exclusive model of the LMS inspection saloon painted in the London Transport colours, number 17 Florence Nightingale. This is an exclusive to the Transport Museum shops. That's the only place you're going to be able to get it. And it's going to retail at, I believe, £100. Yeah, £100. So there's that as well.
Yeah. So my question to you, James, before we go into our main segment, if you're purchasing one thing off the Bachmann winter announcement, what are you purchasing?
But I won't, maybe that 4TC set. I don't know. I need to think about it.
Oh,
Already got one Rail Tour set lined up, so having two Rail Tour sets might be a bit excessive, but they are very nice. So maybe.
we have missed one thing. So the crane that was announced in the autumn announcement that was in the Network Rail yellow, they have done it in a Balfour BT version as well. So before anyone thinks that we forgot about it, yes, we are aware. I agree with you though. Like if I was walking away with anything and price wasn't an option, I'd walk away with that London Transport set. It goes in that list of I've ridden on it, I've seen it in real life, and I'd love to own one. So having one, and I think they did a rail tour earlier in the year. So 71D, Zach, and Railway Dad from Instagram. You'll be listening to this and you'll be able to tell me for sure. But I'm pretty sure they did a 33 excursion where it effectively did the south coast and it ran into Portsmouth and then back out again. Or it started in Portsmouth quite early. I can't remember, but either way, there's some fantastic shots of it going across the Ports Creek Junction with I believe it was the BR Green 33 that ran with it. So I'll see if I can find them, but that's what I'd be walking away with by choice.
Yeah, it's a nice looking model. It's either that or that Festodio brake coach that looks quite nice as well. The 009. But we shall see. So that's I think that's pretty much all the news covered. If we have missed anything, we do apologise, but this week's a big one. So next week will probably be really empty and there'll be nothing to talk about. But that's the way the cookie crumbles, I suppose. So if you have been listening to the podcast for some time, you'll know that every so often we have a little battle fighting locomotive against locomotive to see which one is the best. And we worked our way through LMS, Southern, LNER, GWR, and the last battle was the BR standards, or anything basically built by British Railways. So we decided we're going to put them all together in one big fight club. It's the Royal Rumble.
Look at that! You see that there? The super shiny diesel loco that's coming this way. Yeah, I see it. Isn't it beautiful? So fresh, so clean, like it's straight out of the box. I mean, yeah, it's nice, but I prefer it to have a used look to it. In an ideal world, that would be nice, but I'm sure the owner doesn't have the confidence, skill or time to undertake such a job. Then why don't they just send it to Emperor's Path? Emperor's Path? Yeah. SBJ has years of experience in model railways and wargaming, the ability to meet your weathering needs, and works with you during the whole process to ensure the project is how you want it, not like it's come through a factory. Come on, that must cost a fortune. Not really. He offers different levels of weathering at really affordable prices. I've got my whole fleet weathered by him. My loco's got the full treatment, whilst my rolling stock just a dusting with the airbrush, and it looks really authentic. I might just get a quote. How do I contact him? You get him on Instagram at emperors_path, by Facebook, Emperor's Path, or emperorspathcontact@gmail.com. Emperor's Path Weathering. If it's not filthy, let's change that.
Okay, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. Over the past year, we have battled locomotive against locomotive as we tried to decide for each railway company of the LMS, Southern, LNER, GWR, and British Railways which had the best shunter or tank engine freight loco, mixed traffic loco, passenger loco, and our anything goes round. Now it's time to battle them together as we decide who is the best of the best. It's the Fight Club Royal Rumble. Sam, play battle music. We shall take our winners, deciding an ultimate for each category, and then pit the final 5 against each other to decide the ultimate winner. First up is Tank Engine or Shunter. For the LMS round, the Ginty took the win. In the Southern round, it was the A1 Terrier. The LNER round saw the J70 Tram for James's 3rd win. That's me. But Sam finally managed to claw back around with the 48XX, or later known 14XX. And when it came to British Rail, Sam took the win again with the BR Standard 3MT. Those are our winners. But which is top?
Cool. So this one, I feel like out of the list of the winners, for me, there are really, really strong choices in here. However, I feel like it's possibly the easiest. And I think the 14XX should be the winner in this one. It is, out of most things, I believe it would be the one that you and I would pick. I could be very wrong on that. And I'm not looking at this as a who won which round. I'm looking at this solely to go out of these 5, which one do I think it should be? And I personally think it should be the 14XX. Your thoughts?
Well, this could just end up being a very GWR bias sort of Royal Rumble, can it? That's what I'm sort of looking at the list in the future, thinking, I think I know where this might go. But yes, I do like the 14XX. It is a very lovely loco. The free MT is a bit of a wild card choice out of the choice there, because obviously it's a large tank engine. You've got everything else is smaller. The J70, obviously being a tram, is slightly different. I definitely prefer a Terrier over a Ginty. I don't mind a Ginty, but it's probably my least favorite in that list. There, I'd say I'm probably going to be upsetting people this week. But remember, it's they're our top 5 tank engines. You know, it's not like it's a horrendous list. It's just this is our top 5 choices between the companies. Yeah, I think I prefer a Terrier over a Ginty. I don't know if I'd probably prefer a Terrier over a J70. The 3MT is your choice. I do like a 3MT.
I think if I was going to gauge it in the top 5, so worst being a very loose term here, because as you say, these are the best of the best.
Yeah,
I think I'd put. Yeah, it's you've got all these heavyweights fighting here. I think I'd go from number 5 to number 1. I think I would put it that Ginty, J70, number 2 and number 3 is possibly the hardest one for me. I think the Terrier would have to go at number 3, the 3MT at number 2, and the 14XX as number 1.
Yeah, I see. I think the Ginty's probably bottom here. The J70's got that nostalgia that we all know why. We try not to mention it, but we. I mean, model-wise, as it stands, because the Daypo one's not available, I'd pick the Terrier over the 14XX just because the Hornby Terrier is a really lovely model. And I've seen the Daypo one as well, actually, and that their upgraded one was a very nice one as well. But yeah,
so that's a really interesting thing that you've said there. Shall we look at this from a point of view of not what is the best train, what is the best model? Let's look at it from that point of view, because
I think that's a good way to do it, because otherwise it's we're venturing into the realms of talking about real railway engines, and
who wants to do that?
Exactly. This is a model railway podcast. you want real railway stuff? You go listen to Green Signals. It's
So that changes my list considerably, I think, if we look at it from a model railway point of view and we're looking at models, because although I love the 14XX and I love the 3MT, they're not my favorite models that I own. And that's where I think the Terrier, you're right, suddenly pips it to number one spot for me, because out of those three models, they're the ones that I do own models of. The Terrier, I think, is the best model out of them. Not my favorite loco, but it's definitely the best model out of the three. My 3MT is okay. It lacks a lot of the weight, and I feel like its pickups aren't as good as it should be. And although it's a Bachmann model, I feel like it's not great. We've already explained about the 14XX, and I think you're right. The Daypol one isn't out yet. And where I only have knowledge in double O gauge when it comes to stuff like this, I don't own a J70, although I really, really like the model. A Ginty for me is a quintessential 060 tank engine kind of thing. So it's popular. I don't think it's the best. So if we were doing it based on the model, I think I would go Ginty 3M. No, model. Actually, it would be Ginty 14XX, which it really hurts me to say because performance-wise, it's the worst model I own.
Oh yeah, the Hornby Ginty is obviously of quite old Triang tooling, but the Bachmann one is a lot better model. I think, although it is probably getting a bit long in the tooth itself, it's definitely a much better performer than a 14XX. Having owned both of those models at some point in my life, I can tell you that the Ginty is definitely 14XX for running capability is bottom. This is just, I think we can all agree it's an awful runner.
But weirdly looks beautiful as a model.
It's not a bad model, is it? It's not a bad model, and it's not perfect, and it's definitely showing its age. But for something that started off as an Airfix tooling, it's still going. It's a pretty nice model. But yeah, in regards to models, and I suppose we should just stick to OO because we could throw in the Daypol O gauge 14XX here and then smash it all back out of the park again. But
yeah, if that's anything to go by, the 14XX would win. So with that, cutting away the cutting the. I don't really know what the phrase is here, but I'm going to say that based on that statement, we're going on models. Terrier wins it for me on that.
Yeah, model wise, Terrier. I think loco wise, let's do both and see how we end up by the end, and just see what's our favorite model and what's our favorite real life loco.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm in agreement with you. Real life loco 14XX model. It's got to be the Terrier.
Yeah, I think for such a small loco, I have seen that go around my layout with barely any problems. I had to give the wheels a quick clean because I hadn't used it in a long time. But it performs the same with a rake of 6 Mark 1 coaches, performs the same as many of my other locos. And considering the short wheelbase, I think that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. So yeah, that's I think we're both talking about the Hornby one here. As I said, I've seen a Daypol one. I've probably seen Daypol ones running. I just haven't realised I have. But personally, not having run one or owned one, I can't comment there. So I think we're both referring to the Hornby Terrier there, and that's our winner for tank engine and shunter. And so yeah, model wise, the Terrier is the winner, and for our real life locomotive, we're going to go with the 14XX. So yeah, there's two categories going on here. There's two competitions, and see if the ultimate loco is ultimate in both real life and model, I suppose.
Perfect.
Excellent stuff. Right then, you should all know the procedure by now if you've been listening along for some time. If you're new to it, you won't. But the next round is freight. So when it came to freight, I took the LMS round with a passionate fight for the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railway 7F. It was a victory for Sam in the Southern round as he put a Q1 up against an S15. On the LNER, the Q6, which was my choice, took another victory for me, followed by the 28XX class under the GWR. When it came to British Rail, we both agreed there's nothing better than a 9F. Sam, cue battle music. It's time to discuss the ultimate freight loco. This one's quite a tough one, I think.
Yeah. I was looking at the list and I was like, oh, this is difficult. And I think your statement of we're going with the model form as the main emphasis on this, I think that makes it even harder.
Definitely. What pains me is we're going to be doing this again, whereas I think the 28XX will probably end up at the bottom of the list because it's an older tooling, and Daypol again are producing this model, but it's not out yet. So we're probably looking at the older Hornby model,
Mm.
which I don't think is a bad model, but I think in comparison to the others in the list, is probably going to put it at the bottom, I'd say.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I
Now picking my favorite real life loco, um, that's also hard because it'll probably be the 7F, but I mean, I do like a 2800 and I really do like a 9F, and I think the Q6 looks really nice. And yeah, like you said, the Q1 is a very, at the time, it was a controversial loco, but I think it's sort of become an iconic classic of a bully design, hasn't it? So picking a winner there is going to be quite tough. Should we go through the models first and then try and work out?
yeah, go through the list and we can have a real ponder on it.
So yeah, I have I've owned a 7F. I've had the Bachmann 9F previous. Obviously, Hornby have produced, well, they've got a brand new tooling version now of Super Detail, but prior to that, they had their old, I think it was probably again Triang Heritage tooling, but it wasn't a bad model. It sort of went into their railroad range. The Q1's quite a good model as well by Hornby.
Hmm.
Uh, it's yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so I'm looking at this list and I'm thinking about where I would place all of these. So I think definitely up the top for me in this is the 7F and the Q1. They are possibly my two favorites. And since you said about the 7F in the LMS episode, it has really, really grown on me more so than I thought it would have. And I think since that episode, the SDJR livery has grown on me more than it did. I really like a 9F, and there was a reason both of us picked it in the British Rail Fight Club.
So
I,
to me, they're both Somerset and Dorset locos. So
yeah,
which is why I say I own the 7F. I have owned a 9F. They were very nice models. The Hornby one does look very good, but it's probably a biased preference that I probably would pick the 7F over the 9F. If I had to choose, if I was in a shop and I had to choose, and I was only allowed to purchase one, I'd buy the 7F. But that's from my bias. I don't know if that would suggest it is the better model, but for my bias, it would be the one for me.
I think you're right. I think if I was standing in a model shop and I had to pick one of these to purchase, and let's say price wasn't an option, and I was just looking at the locos, I think, especially in the Somerset and Dorset livery, I think the 7F would be my pick. As much as I like the other ones, I think the 7F just pips it for me. And I might go as far to say that it's my favorite real life out of them.
Well, that's good because it's my favorite real life locus. I've seen, see, the thing is, I've seen 9Fs, but I haven't seen one in Steam. So I've been to Heritage Railways, and they're usually in the shed or in a siding, and they are magnificent. I remember going to the Bluebell Railway, and the 9F was in the shed there, and you just stood next to it, and it's like a humongous Leviathan of an engine, and it's so impressive. Um, but yeah, again, my bias is just for the 7F because I really just like that logo. So,
It's a tough round, but at the same time, I found it much easier to pick.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
definitely. So yeah, 7F, that's winning both. Then I take that. That's
yes.
where are we placing the others? Would you put the 9F second?
No, I think I'd put the Q1 before it still. I really love the
Really?
Q1. And I think from a weathering point of
9F?
view,
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't. I'd see. I think I'd go the 7F, 9F, 2800. I think the Q1's going to go at the bottom, and it's not. Again, it's not because these are bad engines. They're all great engines. I just think there's something about the Q6 that's got that antiquated Victorian look that's
mm,
survived into BR. It always has that little bit of extra charm about it. Whereas, obviously the Q1's quite brutal,
it is. It's very brutalist.
diesel like.
I think maybe that's why I like it. I think for the Q1, I've weathered so many of them over the years. I really love, and it's a reason why I've never needed to buy one because weathering them was enough. Um,
Yeah,
I think, and it's so simplistic but iconic at the same time. And we've been over the fact that I really love the 060 freight locos. I just putting this into a list. See, I think I'd put the Q6 last. And once again, it's not because it's bad. It's just that out of these Titans, shall we say?
Yeah.
I I think 9F might be third. I think I look at it and I think it's such a big loco. From a model point of view, I feel like it's probably a reason why I don't have Mallards and Flying Scotsmans and stuff like that because they're too big. I don't, the Steam locos I do have, one of one of which will be appearing later. I I feel like they are just the right size, but I think with the 9F from a model point of view, I feel like it's too big. Like it's such an imposing thing on layouts, and I do have that when it comes to Steam, that preference of I prefer the smaller tender engines and the tank engines and things like that. So maybe that's why I'm putting it where I am. Let's go. Oh, you're going to hate me. Let's put the 28, no, the Q6 last, the 28XX, the 9F, the Q1, and the 7F. That's mine.
I don't know. I can't have a 28XX in front of a Q1. I mean, behind a Q1, should I say? That's. I mean, my friend at work, well, he will not talk to me if we finalize this list with a Q1 being a more better looking.
I didn't say it was better looking. I
Model
didn't say it
wise,
was better looking.
actually, model wise, yeah, Q1 before the 28XX. I'll give you that one because the current model, the 28XX, is not, I don't think, as good as the Hornby Q1.
They're such reliable models as well, the Q1s. They're one of the few locos that even when I've weathered them, I don't have to clean the wheels on them anywhere as near as much as I do on other locos.
That's because no footplate, you see. That was the advantage of not having the footplate. You can clean over the top.
Yeah. So it was there. So even from that point of view, the pickups on them are great. They just perform really, really well. And it's not many locos that I weather where I don't have to clean the not necessarily the actual wheels, but the part that makes contact with the rail. I just think the Q1 as a model is a very, very good model. It's simplistic, but it is done really, really well. There's very few flaws to it. It's heavy, and considering it's a much earlier Hornby tooling, it is done really, really well.
Yeah, it is actually quite a good model. I was muddying the waters there because I'm thinking about the real life logo and forgetting that we were actually trying to list the model logos. But yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah, the 7F is top for both for us. The Q1, I think the 9F, Q6 over the 28XX. I think because I think the 28 that's why it is being reproduced by Dapol. It's probably time for it to be upgraded. So I reckon the Q6 probably does sit above. So once again, we've put the Great Western loco in last position, which I'm sure many will rejoice to, apart from obviously the Western fans who will be after our blood.
But that's the thing people have to remember for this specific one, this Royal Rumble, we are looking at it from a model railway point of view. And although we both love these models, the models of them are not good at the moment available. If we went back to this in a couple of years after these two models have been reproduced by the other companies, this may be a very, very different list. But
yes,
what is ready to run, available now in 00 gauge, that's how I see it.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's I'm happy with that. That's the win for the 7F coming in first, and it's also our agreed favourite real life locomotive, and it's taken first position for Freight Engine. And again, I'm sure there'll be people that would be disagreeing with us out there because they didn't agree with us when we picked the 7F during the first rounds. I can't remember. Well, I can't remember what your choice was. Oh, it was the 4F we put it up against, wasn't it? Yeah, there was some unhappy people.
Yeah.
Picking us up over a 4F, but it's our show. We can do what we want. Cool. Right then, that is the freight department covered. Let's move on to mixed traffic. So when it came to mixed traffic, Sam took the LMS round with his Fairburn tank engine. He also won the Southern round with the Battle of Britain or West Country Light Pacific. He then took another win with the B1 for the LNER choice. But GWR, I grabbed it back with the choice of the Manor class locomotive. And in our BR Fight Club, the standard 7MT or Britannia won that round. So, who will take the crown for mixed traffic?
Oh, this is a tough one. I feel like model form, this is possibly my least favorite in terms of I don't own any of these models. And that's not because once again, we're coming up and saying this again. It's not because they're bad. They're just not my choice. However, I feel like I can't gauge it that well. But based on what I have seen, and if you watch reviews of people's things, I think this might be the round it comes out on top. But I think the Akira Scale Manor wins this.
Yes, I mean, also Daypol also have their Manor as well, which is a very good model. So you've got two very good manufacturers with two very good models, and they just when you look at the list of the other four, they're all a little bit behind. The Hornby B1 and the Britannia, I think, are quite a few years older now with their tooling. They're not bad tooling. And then going further back with the B1, you have Bachmann's, which used to have like the split chassis in it, and even then that wasn't a bad model. I mean, the Battle of Britain West Country Light Pacifics is probably my favorite loco in there, I'd say, for real life loco. And the reason I don't own one of these locos is that I am pretty sure someone's got to be doing a brand new tooling, high detailed version of these models soonish, because they've been in the Hornby catalogue for a very long time, and I just feel that it's coming. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, you can feel it in your bones, kind of thing. And I
Yeah.
agree with you. The West Country is my favorite real life loco out of this list, I think.
Yes, yeah, I'd go with the Light Pacific, followed by the Manor for real life. Then I'll probably put the Fairburn tank at the bottom, in truth.
Yeah, I see. I loved it when we did it in the LMS, but I think if I was looking at it from a point of view of models, in this list, it is a good list. And I think it probably, out of the five of them, goes last for me.
Yeah, yeah. I think the Manor's definitely going to take it here.
Yeah.
It's a clear win. I think second is probably. Well, mind you, they're all pretty much around the same age for tooling. The
Yeah.
B1, the Light Pacific, the Britannia. I think the Britannia is probably out of the three of them is probably the best one. I'd say maybe the
Yeah.
B1.
I think you're right there.
I think the Brit probably takes it. Again, it's a little long in the tooth these days with tooling. But it's not. When we say this, we're not saying that these are bad models. These are still very good models. They're still very well detailed models. It's just in comparison to what is coming through at the moment. It's in comparison to some of the other stuff. He's starting to look a bit aged. But yeah, I'd probably say the Britannia, the B1, and then the Light Pacific. That's probably the order I put it in. I'd probably have the Fairburn's a very good model.
Mm. Just in comparison to the other ones, I think. Yeah, I think it struggles in this list.
Yeah, I'm not. Again, I'm not sure I'm having a bias of favorite locos in real life taking over a favoritism for a model, because the Fairburn by Bachmann might be a better model than some of those Hornby ones there.
Maybe.
Maybe I don't think I've owned one. I don't think.
I guess that's where we ask for your assistance on this. We are basing it on whether we have to sort of take into account what we've seen of some of these. So if you have a Fairburn, would you rank it high in the actual model ready to run form over some of these other ones? But I think the beauty is that both of us have picked the Manor in the sense of I find that we're not arguing too much about the top spot on this. It's more of where did the other ones sit, which is kind of refreshing. We're not fighting each other properly, but it is a case of right. Okay, so we know who's number one. Where did the other ones sit, really?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think we're definitely in agreement. The Manor is definitely number one there, and for our favorite, it's got for real life loco. We're going for the Light Pacific, aren't we?
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, yeah. As you say, yeah, there's not a lot of argument between us, really, is it? It's a very civilized discussion with I suppose that was to be expected of this round of the Royal Rumble because we've already, argued out why we think these locomotives are top. So these are all great locos.
Yeah,
It's just one great loco after another, really. I think.
yeah, and you know what? Like they're here for a reason. They are good, but we have to look at this objectively and say, in a model form, is this better than the others, and why?
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, and as we say, we're just playing it on the side. Our favourite ones in real life as well. So
Yeah,
just see how it's going. How it's going. I think the only one that's matched up so far is 7F, isn't it?
yeah.
Uh, yeah, excellent, cool. Right, shall we move on to our passenger battle? So, passengers saw Sam take victory with the Jubilee, and then I took a win on the Southern with the pick of the Merchant Navy. I then took the LNR with the win of the Peppercorn A2, and in the GWR Heat, that was me again with the City class. And the BR passenger round was a curveball of a choice of a Class 121, which was one on a technicality more than anything. But then again, if we were going with technicalities, you can argue that Merchant Navy was classed as a mixed traffic, but we all know it wasn't. Mr. Bully did get told off by the government for building such things. So that's how it was allowed in. But Sam's choice of the Light Pacific wasn't.
Yeah.
So, which passenger engine will be top link?
So this one, looking at the list, feels very easy once again to me. And I feel like it's one of those models where if you look at all of the versions of it that are available by other manufacturers, I feel like the one-to-one wins this. And I'm not saying that because I'm a diesel person. I just think that the Hornby version, the Bachmann version, the Daypole version are all really, really strong models. They run well. You have benefits of all of them, and I always say that the Hornby one just requires a little bit of detailing, but is priced better. I just think out of all of these, if we're looking at a model ready to run version available, I feel like the one-to-one is the strongest contender out of all of them.
No, for me, it's the City class.
You knew it wasn't going to last, guys. You knew we were going to come up against each other and have to
It's
not
but
agree.
you're right. The Bachmann 121 is a really nice model. Daypole also produced a 121, and apart from I think the steps on the bogies just catch on the underframe detailing a little bit. They had to be trimmed down if you didn't want it derailing on corners. It was again a great model. I think they did that one in conjunction with Hatton's, and like you say, you've got the older Hornby DMU, which is the Lima tooling. So it all dates back to that, and as a Lima model, it was considered a very good model, even when it was originally a 117 before they amended the tooling and basically put the two cabs on one tooling, and that was it. You'd never get a 117 again, but you got the 121. It's nice, but the City class I own a model of City Achuro, and it's one of the nicest models I own. It's one of my favorites. I think it looks absolutely stunning. The paint detail on it, the lining, it runs so smoothly, especially as it's a 440. It's got a good turn of speed. It's not too loud, and it just looks stunning, in my opinion. And that's why I think the City class beats the 121. The Bachmann A2, I haven't seen one of them for a while, but I think they're also a very nice model. And I do suspect there will be a blue Peter coming from Bachmann shortly, I'm sure. In fact, there'll be, is it at the time of recording, I believe the Bachmann announcements are tomorrow. So you never know, maybe it will be announced tomorrow. I'm hoping so because I'd like one of them.
It would make sense based on the fact that they've just redone the N-Gauge version of it as well.
Yes, that's very true. For me, the Hornbys, when we talk about Merchant Navy and the Light Pacifics, and maybe we probably should have reiterated this, was we are talking at the time of their build when they've won for Southern. So this is their smooth, air smooth casing, as described. So it's not the British Rail rebuilds. This is the air smooth version. So Hornby did produce a air smooth Merchant Navy only a few years ago, which is a very, very outstanding model. yeah, I still think the City class tops it. I think the Jubilee is probably just an older model.
Yeah.
Probably again, it's falling into that category of reaching a retooling stage. But I probably would put Jubilee at the bottom. I personally would probably go Jubilee A2 121 Merchant Navy City class. That's probably the way I.
Okay, interesting. So I agree, Jubilee A2. Now this is I haven't owned the other two, but I've owned a 121. And I'll be honest, I regret selling it. It's difficult because I really do believe the 121 is the best out of this list in terms of a model. But then I can only say that because I've not had the City class or a Merchant Navy. I always feel like the Merchant Navy, it's always been on my list, but it's always too expensive for a model that I won't run as much.
Yeah, it is quite pricey, isn't it? I don't know. It always looked really. I mean, again, it's not one I've owned, but it does look very good. I think it's a very sound looking model. And it's one of the. I haven't seen many complaints about it as well, because that's one of the things you'll tend to sometimes see with certain Hornby models is the same complaints about the same faults that sometimes come through on these things. Um, and I don't recall seeing any issues cropping up with the Merchant Navy. Um, not saying all Hornby products are all have issues, but sometimes there are teething troubles with new projects,
Hmm.
as should sometimes be expected, really. But the companies are usually very good in resolving these issues. So yeah, just just making sure it's not a Hornby bash. I'm just saying. I'm trying to praise the Merchant Navy, but I'm doing it in a backhanded kind of way. Yeah, no, I do see, because I've owned the Daypol 121, I've owned the Bachmann 121. As I say, I bought that City class. I still own the City class. I have no intention of ever departing with the City class. It will always stay in my collection. That's how much I like it.
Do you know what's weird
Uh,
though? I've not seen you run it on your layout.
there's videos on YouTube.
What, on your new layout?
Not on the new layout, on not the last layout, but the layout before that one. On Burford Road, Steam on Burford Road, and it's running around with a couple of old Hornby Triang Clestry coaches with really squeaky wheels. But not many people have seen that video. I think it's only had like 400 views. It's
It's
in
old
the early,
James.
yeah, it's an old video in the earlier days when my channel was not as well known. So
So here's the thing. I'm willing to say that I will trust your judgment on the City class. I want to see a running session with the City class in. That's the deal. If In fact, I want more running sessions from you, if I'm really honest, mate. Sort it out, okay? I want to see some locos running around on your layout. I will.
I did tidy up the garage room the other day, but as I look round it, it's just got boxes all sat on the track again. So it didn't last very long.
Yeah.
That's usually why there's no running sessions. It's just I have to keep tidying up. But
So here's the agreement then. I will submit that you know better in this instance because I haven't owned a City class. We'll put the 121 as second, Merchant Navy as third. But
okay,
I have to see some running sessions from you. If it's that good, I want to see it running round. I want to see it
yeah,
on your new layout. I want to see it with whatever rolling stock you decide. But I want some running sessions.
yeah. No, that can be arranged. That can be arranged. So yeah, that's all right then. Fine. The City class pops it for our favourite passenger in model form. What about real life loco?
I think Merchant Navy for me.
The air smoothed one.
Yeah, I really like a spam can, but I've never had the privilege of actually being behind one of them or seeing like I think I've seen them once in real life, but never running. Um, this is a weird list for me because I think it's difficult. I think
See,
it
I
would
picked
go,
one. I'd pick the 121 because it's the only one I've actually generally been on the real railway traveled on.
yeah.
So it's a nostalgia feeling. Going, I like it because it reminds me of when I was a kid. But uh, yeah, I don't know. I still like. I think the A2. I think is probably. So yeah, yeah, I'd probably. I'm inclined to say the 121 is my favorite real life loco just because I've traveled on one. But then realistically, I think looks wise, if we're being shallow, for me it's the A2. I think it's a splendid looking logo, personally. Um, I can see the appeal of the Merchant Navy, but I do prefer them in their rebuild form.
Which is, I find that odd. I feel like there's such a cult following for the Merchant Navy. I mean, out of everything, I am more surprised that the A2 out of this list comes second for you. But I'll I'll concede it. Like I feel like it is the left field one I'm not expecting, considering how much you love the City class and you haven't named it yet.
Yeah, I do. I do. I mean, the six half is nice, but I do think I like the looks of the A2. I think for a model, the City class is for me. I think in real life, I think maybe yeah, probably there's an appeal about the looks of the A2. I think, but then again, I quite like a Jubilee. I think picking a real life logo is probably the hardest part of this list, to be honest.
I think it's because a lot of these are they are definitely ones that you see. I want to say you see in real life more. I don't know if that's actually completely true.
Yeah, I mean, you won't see an air smooth Merchant Navy because they were all rebuilt and now scrapped or preserved.
Mm.
I've seen a Jubilee; they look absolutely fantastic on the main line. I haven't seen an A2 in the flesh. I've just only ever seen them in photos and videos, but I just think it looks stunning. But I could just be attracted to that BR blue color. As I say, City class, I've seen City of Truro in Swindon Museum, and I mean, she does look stunning. And then, as I say, the 121, I used to travel on it on the Bedford to Bletchley line when I was a kid, so that's the appeal to that one.
Yeah.
It looks the nostalgia 121 wins just for nostalgia that I've travelled on it. Looks wise, as I say, I'm quite torn between any of them. I don't.
It's definitely a tough choice. I think it's so interesting that you're happy for the 1-to-1 to be the winner, but in the real life, but not so much in the ready to run model. And that's not me saying change your mind. I just find it really interesting that it's a clear winner in real life, but not so much in the model form. It's such an interesting thing of how people's minds work, isn't it?
Yeah, I think yeah, like I said, it's not. It's a very. I think the Batman one's a very good model. I just think the City class just tops it.
Yeah,
But yeah, again, it's probably a nostalgia bias that the 1-to-1, and that's the reason I picked it in the first place, is because it's something I've always enjoyed because it was one of those sort of heritage units that I used to travel on.
yeah, sure.
But yeah,
The good
I think we're probably going to end this one with undecided for real life locomotive.
okay.
Well, I suppose we have to pick something really. But...
All right, so real life. Let's go for
Okay,
one
I'll
to
tell you
one.
what.
I'm
You
happy
gave
with.
it. You gave in for the City class for the model, so I will respect that, and I will let you have Merchant Navy for the real life.
You see, I was willing to give in for the 1-to-1 because I love a 1-to-1. I really, really do. But my heart instantly said Merchant Navy for best in real life. But let's be honest, if I was going to pick to ride on a 1-to-1, I'd happily pick a 1-to-1.
Okay.
Sorry to those at home. Sam's caving. What a shock. Um, but I think the 1-to-1 in real life is better. The more I sat here and thought about it, I can't offer to do a running video of any of these though. I literally have none of these in model form, so I can't even sit here and be like, yeah. But
Yeah,
I
no, I
mean,
can't either.
let's say that we at least know that City Class has won it in model form, and we'll
Yeah.
move on to our last round.
So we now are going to move on to what could possibly be our toughest round, as it's our anything goes. So, those of you that are familiar to the show know that anything goes is anything that goes. We chose anything we liked from the 5 companies of BR, LNER, Southern, GWR, and of course, LMS. So, Sam won with the Black 5 in the LMS round. Southern went to myself with the Lord Nelson. I then took the LNER with the choice of the A4. GWR, that was me again with the GWR 57XX Panya. And BR was another win for myself with the Blue Pullman DMU. So that I'm bragging here, but yeah, I took 4 over Sam's 1. It's just the way it is. So This is anything goes, and any one of these could win.
So looking at this list, I can
Yep.
tell you that three of the five are definitely strong contenders in my mind.
Yeah, go on, go, because I think I know what you're going to say.
So if we're going off our previous thing of, although there are newer models coming out of a certain one, we can't base it off that. We're looking solely at models, and I
Currently
think
available. Currently available in the market, yeah. Because,
currently,
yes, so the 57XX is obviously going to be produced, or probably is already in production by Scale,
Mhm.
but it is not yet to market. So we cannot venture an opinion if it's a good model or not. I'm pretty sure it will be. But yeah, so currently it just sits at what is the highest detailed model, which is the Bachmann version. Um, so
which
yeah, that's that.
if I'm right in
Probably,
thinking, they don't come DCC ready, do they?
I would have to research that one and have a look, but you're probably not too far off. I tell you what, I can tell you because I've got a model just over here. Give me a second. 8-pin DCC. So you can install an 8-pin DCC decoder on them. I don't know if they've done a sound version. I'm not sure they have. So yeah, they can be DCC fitted, but
I apologize. I withdraw the slander. The only reason I say it is because my pannier had to be hardwired. So, and it wasn't a super old one. So I was just worried that it wasn't available. And the thing is, it's not a bad model. If I was looking at this based on the models that are currently out there and which ones I like, you know where I'm going with this. I think, and I can say this because I have the new model and it's outstanding. I think the Black Five's up there for me as number one. I
yes, so obviously for everyone listening, this is seamless, but we've had to take a break because of domestic tasks I had to complete. And during that break, I had a little think about what this list would be, and I was like, well, the Black Five is probably going to be the winner. But then I thought, well, what about the Daypol A4 Black Label?
That's not out yet.
Isn't it?
No, it's been announced, but it's not actually out yet.
I thought that was a second batch. I
Oh,
thought they'd done one. I
oh,
think I think the Black Label A4 was produced in 20, I'm going to say 2018, maybe a little bit earlier. I'm sure this is a second batch.
oh, okay. Having a quick Google of it, it looks like there were Black Label versions of it available. Um, but the new ones are quarter four 2024. Okay. I mean, I don't know because you'd have to, it would have to have a lot of singing and dancing for it to be a £400 model, and it's not even a multiple unit.
It does have a lot of singing and dancing.
I don't, I There's a little bit of bias here because I don't like the A4. Like in
Yeah,
comparison, out of all of these, I'd put the A4 last personally.
I know you would. So
Yeah,
that was the other thing. What I thought, yeah, the A4's in there, and I remember how much you didn't want it to win the last time, and then I had to really fight to get it to be the champion there.
yeah.
So I thought this one you're not going to go for it, even though that day the Black Label model might possibly make it a better model than the Hornby Black Five. But the Hornby Black Five, the new one, is a very good model. It's obviously got the variations in the tooling which allow them to produce almost any of the oh God, how many was it? 504 versions, I think, of the Black Five. I think there's about six of them they can't produce. Otherwise, they can do any other, which is impressive stuff. But the thing I don't like is those lamps. I think they look too chunky. I think it's really cool that they got working lights on them, but I think they look really chunky and slightly annoying and fiddly in the fact that, and this is probably why no one's really ever ventured into working lamps, is the fact that you have to move them around dependent on your train and
And
what it's pulling.
moving them around is not easy. So I will agree with you on that. And I think I'm lucky. I went for the Glasgow Highlander Black Five, which was one of the later of the batches that came out. And if you look online, most people had problems with the earlier batches of it. But my one, and seemingly a lot of people who got the that particular style were very good, and especially in comparison to the ones that came out a couple of months earlier. I have to really sit back and try to not be this is my favorite. I do have to look at like what are good models. I guess if you look at other people's opinions of the Black, I love my Black 5. It's the only Steam Loco that is set up on my layout permanently in my fiddle yard. All the other ones basically come on and off sort of regularly. The Black 5 is the only one that sits there permanently. I think it's a fantastic model. I agree the lights are chunky. Maybe I could put it in second place because whilst there are lots of bits I love about it, there's a lot of bits that other people don't.
Hmm.
Um,
It's a very the trouble is it's a very popular loco with a lot of people, and a lot of people have a lot of different ideas and opinions of how it should be produced and what should be done on it and what shouldn't be done on it.
mm,
It's sort of, I think it ventures in that category. Um, the interesting one for me, I think, is the Blue Pullman, because that is a model that I, off the top of my head, arrived in either 2012 or 2013, somewhere along those lines. So it's quite an older tooling, I think, in comparison to most. Probably the 57XX is probably the oldest tooling here. Um, but again, I think the Blue Pullman is a fantastic model, and I don't think you'll see it upgraded or well, maybe an upgrade, but not a retool. I think this is the final model you'll see in production. But it was when it came out, it looked really good. It ran really well. It had the new couplings that allowed you to couple it all up, so you didn't need a DCC decoder in every coach to control the lighting. I think it's a pretty good. I think it's a pretty good model as well. Is it as good as that Hornby Black 5? It's because this is sort of the same problem that we've had when we keep trying to compare the 121 to steam engines, isn't it? It's we've just got this oddity in here.
I see. I would put the Blue Pullman over the A4.
But that's because you don't like the A4.
No, because I'd also put the Blue Pullman over the Lord Nelson, which I love. I really like the Lord Nelson. It's only because of how big it is as a steam loco that I don't have one as a Southerner. I think the Blue Pullman, for the same reason that you said, it was iconic. It turns a lot of, but I'm trying to look at the model side of it, and I think if a Black 5, an A4, a 57XX, or a Lord Nelson pulled out onto a layout, you might get a couple of heads turning, and maybe the A4 so much. Like so, you said about the fact that if a Blue Pullman comes out onto a layout, it turns heads, and I think that's why the Blue Pullman might be the winner of this. I don't
Yeah.
want to admit that, but I think if you looked at this list and looked at what is the best model out of all of these,
it is a head turner. Yeah, you're right. It's a head turner, but the A4 is always a head turners as well. But I don't know. I think that Black 5 is a very good model. I think it's a very good model.
I love mine. I think it's great. I've had no flaws with mine. Mine has been absolutely outstanding. I love the headlights on it. And I think that's another reason I love it is because none of the other Steam locos I have lights on them. If you're like me and Steam's not as big to you as sort of diesels and electrics are, I don't care that the formation of the lights is set to freight as standard. That's not an issue to me. And yes, like a lot of locos, there's things that you can do to make it better, or there's things that people don't like and they have to change on it. Moldy Raspberry is a really, really good person to watch on this. He changed quite a lot on his Black 5 to be happy with it.
Yeah. Yes.
Um,
So I mean, it's a room for improvement loco. Is that what's going to put it back in second place?
I think that's why, like, I think it is a fantastic loco, but you do have to do some things to it, depending on what sort of modeler you are, for it to be great loco, if that makes sense. Like the bones for it are great. The motor, the mechanism I find is great. I know a lot of people have had problems with how much it can pull. I haven't. But if you look at it's one of those models where it's a little bit like the Daypol 73. Lovely model. People love them because the Hornby one's so outdated now. But there's so many problems with it that you search for it on YouTube and you'll come up with so many different videos on it based on who's running it. And I feel like that's the same with the Black 5. There's so many problems depending on who you look at on them that maybe that's why it shouldn't win. And I came into this conversation thinking I was going to say Black 5's number one, and I really, really want it to be, but I don't think it should be.
Yeah. No, I as you say, I don't own that model, but there are many videos out there of people that do, and there are ones that have. And this is what we mentioned earlier, isn't it? There's always teething troubles with the newer models, and as you say, the earlier batches displayed them, the later batches, the Hornby have tried to cure them. So again, it's just not Hornby bashing, which is saying what has been discovered as they've reached people's layouts. But yeah, I suppose you're right in that sense, then, isn't it? I've not really known people complain about the Blue Pullman. I owned one. I thought it was an absolutely great model. It ran really well. It was really nice, and all the detail, the lighting on it. It was a superb model. And it now sits in my dad's loft, so he's got two of them, so he can have two of the Blue Pullmans. Is it better than You're not going to give him the A4. I know you won't. Even if I try, even if I try and say even the Black Label A4, it's got the steam generator, the sound, the lights. It's got all the works. But maybe the price point puts it out away. But then again, the price point of the Blue Pullman would. But then
That's
again,
the other thing, isn't it?
you're getting a 6-car train there, I suppose. But
six-car train versus a one blue thing. I'm trying to not be objective about it from the point of view that I don't like it, but I am looking at it from a point of view of so we have the thing that the Black 5 really, if you look at it, it's a 280 pound brand new model, I think, off the top of my head. So that's still quite high, considering it's not.
That's why I didn't buy one.
Yeah. So I didn't pay that. Let's clarify that right now. I didn't pay that. And I think if you look at the Black 5, the Lord Nelson, the A4, the Blue Pullman, I think all of them have too high a price point for it to be an automatic win. And I think it comes back round to the fact that, do you know what? There is an entry-level version, there's a mid-range version, there's a top-range version of the 57XX. And I think the availability of it and the fact that you could pick up a DC one, sort of the old Hornby Railroad one, you could pick, which obviously doesn't look as good as the normal standard ones, but it works and it's in train sets and it is a readily available one. But then you can upgrade to the Bachmann one in various guises. And then we've obviously got the promise of something down the line which doesn't affect this. But I don't know if I didn't have any of these. I think if I was looking at the 5, I think maybe the 57XX should be the winner.
That's you got in the model shop. They say help yourself. You can have whatever you want. Any of these 5, you can walk away with one. Is that what you're walking away with?
Oh no! If you phrase it like that, I'd say Black 5 or Pania. Okay, so if you turned around to me and said that can run on any layout, Pania all the way, because you could have a Pania on a small shunting layout and you can also have it on a large layout. Like you could have it on any of these. Not many people could run the Blue Pullman. The same with the A4, the same with the Lord Nelson, and even to a certain degree the Black 5. They're all that little bit too big that not everyone can run it. Yet you pick up a Pania, that's running on anything. You can have it on a shunting layout, on an Inglenook shunting puzzle. You can have it on a loco shed. You can have it on a big branch line. You can have it on a big station terminus as a pilot engine. I think looking at a model form, out of all of these, the one that could go on any layout is the Pania tank.
Yes. Yeah. This is the trouble with the anything goes round, isn't it? Because there's absolutely zero rules to what we picked. There's such a variety there. Like you say, we've got again. It's a bit like when we put the 08 against the Blue Pullman. We've pretty much done the same here, haven't we? We were putting the Pania tank against the Blue Pullman. The Black 5 still seems really appealing to me as a model. And like you say, if we were looking at entry, mid-range, and top level, well, Hornby have got you covered there for the Black 5 because they've got their railroad. If you look on the second-hand market, you'll find what was their super detailed Black 5 and at a reasonable price. And you've got now the brand new super detailed Black 5 as well. But the A4 is the same. The A4 is railroad.
Yeah.
The Hornby detailed one is a good model. The Bachmann
Come.
one's not a bad model. I don't think the nose on it is quite right. And then obviously the Daypole's Black Label one at the top of the range. So Lord Nelson, it has its history in Bachmann mainline range, I think. It definitely was a split chassis model long ago,
Mm,
and then has come back as this Hornby model. So again, there's an entry model out there. Even the Blue Pullman, if you think about it, if you look round, you can get hold of the old Hornby Triang Blue Pullman.
mm.
It's not. I mean, when it looks like that, it's not a particularly great looking model. I don't think. If I was asked to pick from the lower range, definitely wouldn't be picking the Blue Pullman.
No.
In the detailed range, I don't know. I think I might need to look at a photo of a Lord Nelson just because I think we're neglecting the Lord Nelson, and I think it's like the underdog here.
I think so. The Lord Nelson, I think it's a really, really lovely model. I feel like it came in a little bit priced a little bit too high in the new model. So when it came in, I think it's just over the £200 mark. So if you were going to buy straight from Hornby, I know this isn't the direct price, but it's £225. Now, I really like a Lord Nelson, but if I was looking at a Lord Nelson, a Black Five, I'd pick the Black Five. Like I feel like for this round especially, we really have to take into the price point as well as how that's going to affect whether this is a. And I, although it's not my favorite, I will say the one of the really redeeming qualities of both the Pania and the A4 is that both of them come in train sets, which makes them exceedingly or regularly they come in train sets depending on when when they're out. And I feel like those two are probably the most accessible out of the five. And maybe that's why they would be number one and two, despite what my personal belief is on them. Let's look at it from a model rail perspective. We have to really take into account the price points, the entries, and stuff like that. I feel like the Blue Pullman is really good, and I really, really like it. Does it because of its price? Does it mean that it sits higher up the market? Because there's no entry level really, like other than an old Hornby Triang tooling.
Yeah, true.
And I'm saying that, and I'm saying that with me putting the A4 in the top two. I don't want to, but let's be really diplomatic about this and say, well, the A4 is the more accessible out of it. And I think
Yes,
I think
I think the 57XX. I think I don't know if the old tooling that Hornby had, which with the closed cab. I don't know if they still have that because I know a load of tooling was destroyed, and I haven't seen that model in a very long time. You usually see the open cab version, which I just suspect is probably a different class of loco.
mm,
Knowing the Great Western standardization procedure of just reusing certain parts and so forth, therefore a type of loco becomes a different type of loco.
yeah,
Uh, like I said, the Batman model is very nice. I think it's a very good price range. Probably is. Do you know what? Yeah, you think you're right. Coming into modeling, if you don't want something toy-like, but you don't want to spend too much money, the 57XX is probably the right model for you. It's just at that, like you say, it's at the right price point. It's the right detail level. It's perfect for a small layout. It's perfect for a large layout, except obviously if you start modeling regions where it didn't go. But as we've discussed with this loco, even by its BR years, it was venturing everywhere.
mm.
You know, they could be found as far as Scotland. So there's always an excuse for why a 57XX has gone that far. So yeah, maybe the 57XX should be number one.
I think that would be the out of all of these, I feel like 57XX needs to be number one. I don't want to say it, but let's say the A4 comes in at number two, Black Five comes in at number three. I feel sorry for the Lord Nelson because it is a really good loco, but compared to the rest of them, I feel like it is overshadowed. And that's not just because we're overshadowing it. I feel like it is. If you asked people what all of these were, I feel like the Lord Nelson's the one people would be like, I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Put the Blue Pullman in at number four and the Lord Nelson in at number five. If it was my own personal choice of which ones I would go out and purchase in which order, I think I'd still go 57XX, Black Five. Lord Nelson Blue Pullman A4. And the only reason the Blue Pullman's not at number 3 is because of the price of it.
Yes, it has creeped in years from its original price point when it first arrived.
Because you
Because it's
can't
probably
just purchase it as a loco, can you? You have to
no,
have
no, yeah, you have to have the set of six, and
come,
then obviously,
it comes with baggage.
and then I think the last time it was available from Bachmann was when it was in that super fancy train set with the digital controller, and it was in the grey livery, and it was I think it was somewhere retailing around 900 to £1,000, wasn't it? So for a
Yeah,
train set, crazy money.
yeah, that it's insane, really, in the grand scheme of things. But I mean, do you agree that I mean, I'd like to know what
Yeah,
your top
I think
five.
so. Actually, yeah, I the 57X. I mean, we both have the 57XX on pre-order for
Yes.
the tooling coming through with Curious Scale. I would probably at some point get a Black Five. I do love a Black Five. I think that it's a lovely loco. And as we said in the original LMS battle, if you hadn't picked Black Five, I would have.
Yeah.
The only reason I didn't get it is because you got in there first. Um, I quite like an A4. I think A4 is a lovely looking locos. Um, but I think I prefer a Blue Pullman over an A4.
Really?
That's probably because the diesel, just because it's a diesel, and like I say, it was the one before the HST.
Yeah.
So that's probably why I put it there. But it's a close third and fourth, like by a whisker.
Yeah.
And I say the Lord Nelson is like you say, it's a lovely loco, but I just don't think it quite holds a light to the others that we've picked.
Mm,
It's,
I agree.
it's yeah, again, these are all great locos as we've stated throughout this, but it's something's got to come last.
Yeah. So we're
Real,
saying
real life loco, what one would you go for?
I think Black Five. I think Black Five would come out on top for me to see in the flesh because I've not seen a Black Five in the flesh.
I've seen many Black Fives in the flesh and many XX.
This also comes down to the fact that I'm a hermit. I don't necessarily actually go out.
They do
Whilst
go
I
to the sun.
whilst I love trains, I don't necessarily go out and do train things as sort of like I don't go out and do many shows. I don't necessarily go out and do many heritage railways. I I love but I tend to sort of make it part of my hobby and my indoor sort of self. And then when I go out and I'm going on a holiday, I don't necessarily make it the be all and end all of everything, if that makes sense.
I get you. I was just planning a holiday around, somewhere where I can work out we can go see a train. So.
I do keep trying to go back to Wales so that I can go on a narrow gauge because I do love narrow gauge and I haven't been on one since 2014, I think. Um,
Outrageous.
yeah, I know, but that was the Barla Lake, and I love the Barla Lake, and I think that's why in our previous episode I said that Britomart was on the Barla Lake. 'Cause I'm pretty sure there's a very similar engine, an 040 sort of Quarry Hunslet that was on the Barla
That
Lake
is
as well.
top of my head. I'm going to say there's four there. And Alice is one of them, I'm sure.
Oh, that's probably what I've got in my head. But yeah, so yeah, I think I'd go Black Five, Real Life, Pania. You know what? I think I would like to see. Thing is, I've seen it at the locomotion, not locomotion museum, at the railway museum in York.
Mm.
So maybe the A4 is not as. I've never seen the Blue Pullman or a Lord Nelson in real life.
No, obviously the Blue Pool and all we're going to get now is the HST version, which is pretty sweet. But
Which does look gorgeous. And if it was a HST version, I think this would have been a very, very different conversation. But that's not how the BR standard
no,
battle worked.
that's how these battles work. No, we will have other future battles with different rules and different outcomes, and maybe we can visit this again in the future. But
So,
yeah,
so
I'd agree with you. Outside in the real railway, I think a Black Five. I love a 57XX, I really do. But a Black Five, there's something about them. They're just the right type of loco. They look nice. They were designed by a Great Western man as well, so they've still got that Western heritage in them. But yeah, they look powerful. They sound good, and they just look stunning on the main line when they're running, especially when they run them in pairs. So yeah, for the main line, I'd say the real life Black Five.
yeah. Nice.
So to sum up then, that is, with the rounds all completed, the Shunter was the winner, Terrier. Freight was the Somerset and Dorset Joint Railways 7F. For mixed traffic, we've agreed that it's a Manor. Passenger-wise, the City class was edged into first, and with anything goes, we've come to a thorough conclusion that the 57XX is the model to go for. Which one then is the top one? Which one is our ultimate model?
See, that's a question I don't know if I could answer. So we're talking Terrier. I think I'd still pick the Pannier. Out of all of those five, I think I'd still pick the Pannier.
Still picking a Pannier. Yeah, I suppose here's the problem. We haven't made any rules. We haven't given perimeters of why we should pick that model. It's just basically our preference and personal choice, I suppose. But
Okay, so for you then, you've got
for me,
you've got a blank check out of those five that we've just said. Which one are you picking up?
do you know what my heart says? The 7F.
Okay.
But I think in truth, I'd probably go for a Manor. I think we'd probably, out of those, if we looked at all the models currently available, price is no object. It's just which one you think is the loveliest. I think the Akira Scale Manor or even the Daypol one is the top choice.
Yeah, I've done that stupid thing of I've been looking at the fact that the 57XX, I'd skewed it towards the Akira Scale one that's coming. And with that, I think I agree with you about the Manor.
Yeah,
I,
I think that's our ultimate winner.
yeah, I have to get out of my head because I've got a Bachmann one. But do you know what? If somebody said to me, you can buy any of these and you can pick which manufacturer makes it. If the Akira Scale 57XX was out right now, I'd say that, but it's not. So I think, yes, if somebody offered me the money, I would go and purchase an Akira Scale Manor.
Yeah, do you know what? I think I agree. I think if I'm going to pick from them, maybe because I already own a 7F, I'll be picking the Manor as my top choice for locomotive for this year. So yeah, that's the Model Rail Replacement Podcast. Fight Battle Royal Rumble completed with our top locomotive for model being the GWR Manor class, available by Akira Scale or Daypol in 00 gauge. Of course, we've still got one more bit to do. We were also trying to work out what our favourite real life loco was. So if I just run through that list again, I think we concluded that it was the 14XX for the tank engine. The freight engine was again the 7F. Mixed traffic this time was the Bullied Light Pacific, Battle of Britain class or West Country class. I think we eventually sort of agreed maybe a merchant navy for passenger class, but I don't think we ever did really settle down on that one.
It was either 121 or Merchant Navy. I can't really remember.
And then for anything goes, it was the Black Five. So out of them, what's your favourite real life loco?
14XX for me.
Didn't even need to think there, did you? You didn't
No,
even think.
I think it has and always will have a special place in my heart. And once I've never actually been able to ride behind one or see one in real life actually in Steam, and I think that's a crying shame. But yeah, if I was picking, I think 14XX.
That is a crying shame. I've done it at the Didcot Railway Centre and I would say Llangollen Railway, just on the Welsh border.
Mm.
We did it with the autocar. It's great. Yeah. Do you know what? It's too hard to choose between the other three, which are all ex-Somerset and Dorset locos. So yeah, I'm going to go with the 14XX as well for the Model Railway Replacement Podcast Locomotive of 2024. So there we are. We have concluded our fight clubs covering the LNER, GWR, LMS, Southern and British Railways, and have decided that the Manor is our favourite in model form and that the 14XX is our favourite in real life. So there's no GWR bias there. But you're probably thinking, hang on a minute, didn't you used to have a round where you gambled for something you'd like to see? Yes, we do. And if you want to hear what the winner of that is, you're going to have to sign up to our Patreon for a little special segment. But that's all for now. We're going to take a short break and return with our social media shout-outs. Hello there, dear listener. We thought we'd just take a moment to talk to you about our Patreon. The last few weeks, Sam has been putting out an advert impersonating David Attenborough, trying to entice you to give us your money. And you were right not to do it. But now we ask you from the bottom of our hearts to follow us on Patreon.
If you do want to support us in what we do, and you believe that what we do is good enough that you want a part of your money, you can find us on Patreon, and you can start donating for as little as $1 a month. It's in dollars, it's in freedom credits, however you want to say it, but eventually it will just take the pounds from your bank account. And if you do want to support James and myself, head on over to Patreon. There's varying levels and tiers that you can do, and there's even a tier where I'll weather stuff for you, and James gets the benefit of it. So why not support us on Patreon today?
Indeed. And that way we can get new microphones so you can stop complaining that you can't hear us. Okay, and that is the Royal Rumble completed. We have decided that the Manor is our favourite in all of model railway locomotives, which is quite... do you actually own a Manor?
I don't, but the fact that Akira Scale still have them makes me tempted to buy one.
Yeah, I have been looking. I saw a couple for sale in Gaydon the other week. And I was like, go get one. But I'll yeah, we'll see. We'll see in that. But we've decided that's the one we like the most.
Yeah.
I suppose we should own one, really.
I'm surprised by it, considering everything that we did in the Fight Clubs. I think I'm surprised by what came out top of the top. I was adamant going into it. The Black Five was going to be my favorite, the top of the list, the top of the pile. But to walk away and agree that the Akira Scale Manor, whilst I'm not mad about it, I am surprised.
But if we go for what we decided would be our favourite of the locomotives, and probably people are just screaming at whatever they're listening to this on and going, "Why don't you pick that?" But the 14XX, I've got 3, so that'd be why that one's an agreeable one for me to say. Yeah, I like that loco, and you have at least one, I know.
I do.
One on all.
I'm so tempted to get a second in the form of an O gauge one, because they're still so cheap on the Rails website. They're still £125. And if you wanted to get into O gauge, the fact that you can buy one for the same price as you could probably buy the 00 version, it seems insane.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Crazy prices, and it's a really nice model as well. I mean, mine's just sat on a shelf. I just look at it and just quite admire it. And I found a photo of the actual one, and it's weathered really nicely. So I was like, I'm going to copy that weathering at some point, because I've always wanted to do some weathering in O gauge. So the opportunity is there. But yeah, that's what we've decided to go for. Maybe we will cover these. I mean, we've got a few other category ideas, but maybe we can come back to this. I feel like you say, there's a few models in there that currently we can't compare because they don't exist yet, or at least not in the market. So it'd be interesting to come back to us and decide, and have a look and see if things change in the future.
Agreed.
So yeah, that's that. As I say, we're going to be talking about the urban layouts and rural layouts next week, and which one's better out of them. So kind of another Fight Club, I suppose. But for now, I suppose we should get on with our social media shout outs and the exhibition diary. So I'll just open that up and let you know what's happening this coming weekend. That's providing you are actually listening on the Monday it comes out. If you're listening like 2 weeks away, it's going to be no good to you. Absolutely no good. Unless you have a time machine, this is no good to you, and you can skip this bit. So, Saturday the 16th is the Gosport Model Railroad Club. It's an open day and exhibition at the St Mary's Church Parish Centre in Green Road, Averstoke in Gosport, Hampshire. On the 16th, Liverpool and West Lancs O Gauge Group have an open day. It's on the first floor of St Monica's Parish Centre at Stewart Avenue in Bottle in Merseyside. St Andrews Railways Modellers have their model railway extravaganza at the St Andrew's Church, Cheadle Road in Cheadleholme, Cheshire. There's also the 009 Society Tyne Tees local group of their engine narrow gauge in the North East. It's at the Primrose Community Centre at Lambert Terrace in Jarrow on Tyne and Wear. Engage Society have a Newport Open Day at the Christchurch Centre on the BT compound in Newport in Gwent. South Hunts Model Railway Club at the Portsmouth Model Railway Exhibition is at the Admiral Lord Nelson School at Dundas Lane, Portsmouth in Hampshire. Maybe Sam might be there, you never know. Bastille Law Railway Society 41st Model Railway Exhibition at Elms Hotel, London Road, Retford in Nottinghamshire. The Heart of England Narrow Gauge Modelers is having their monthly meeting at the 22nd Rugby Scout Hut in the Kent Hill Morton, Rugby, Warwickshire. And as it's on a Saturday, you can pop to Tony's shop. It's just in the area. On Saturday 16th and Sunday 17th is the Brighton Model Railway Club, the 44th Annual Model Railway Exhibition at Patcham Community Centre at Ladies Mile Road in Brighton, East Sussex. That weekend also sees the Nottingham Model Railway Society having their autumn show of 2024 at the Richard Herron Centre in Foxhill Road, Colton, Nottinghamshire. That weekend also sees Pendle Forest Model Railway Society's annual exhibition at the Park High School at Venables Avenue, Colne, Lancashire. There's also the Falkirk Model Railway Club, and that's their model railway exhibition at Grangemouth Athletic Stadium at the Curzon Avenue, Grangemouth, Stirlingshire. Hale Railway Modelers on November Model Railway Exhibition 2024, the Hale Day Care Centre at Commercial Road in Hale, Cornwall. Thornbury and South Gloucestershire Model Railway Club is the annual exhibition at Tunbury's Community Centre in Bath Road, Thornbury in Avon. There's also the Soul Rail Limited Workington Model Railway Exhibition at the Energus Building in Low Hall, Workington, Cumbria. Barry and Penrith Model Railway Club are having their November exhibition day, and it's the Highlight Park Community Centre in Stirling Road, Barry, on the Vale of Glamorgan, and that's on Sunday the 17th. Also on Sunday the 17th is Halifax Model Railway Club Limited Open Day, and it's the club rooms at 2 to 4 Deal Street, Halifax, West Yorkshire. Sunday the 17th also sees Macclesfield Model Railway Group in their formal opening of the new club rooms. It's the MMRG club rooms at Offkinco Lane, Macclesfield, Cheshire. Sunday 17th, G-Scale Society Solent Area Group in Solent Wickham Show 2024. It's the Wickham Community Centre, Mill Lane, Wickham, Hampshire. And that is that for this weekend.
So, as James said, I will be at the show on the 16th at Admiral Lord Nelson School. It is walking distance from my house. It is the one show that I go to every year because it is so close. So if you are going to it and you see me there, give me a tap on the shoulder. I will have stickers in my pocket, and I'll either be wearing an Emperor's Path t-shirt or a brand new Model Rail Replacement Podcast t-shirt. Who knows?
There you go. You could wear both.
I don't know. Model railway shows are always hot at the best of times, let alone in a hall.
Well, that's right. You can switch up, can't you? Once you get a bit sweaty in one, change your clothes and put on a nice, clean, fresh top. But there we are. Yes, no coasters. I think you've given all yours away, haven't you?
Yeah, mine have all gone.
I think
Sorry.
I have 4 left. You can see them on the side in here. I have 4 coasters left. So I think the next exhibition I'm going to is probably the one in Birmingham NEC for the National Festival of Railway Modelling. Birmingham NEC, I think it's called. What used to be Worley.
Mm.
But, yeah, there'll be 4 left there if you spot me there and you want to get one before they're all gone. But, yeah. So that's the calendar for this weekend. Should we do our social media shout outs?
Yes, let's. Cool. So me going first this week. I don't know why I say this week. I always go first. I prefer it. So I'm shouting out someone on Instagram rather than YouTube this week. I genuinely believe that this person has an unrivaled talent for repainting in our hobby. And yes, I am blowing smoke up their bum. This is Southwest Max Railway. That's Southwest Max _Railway on Instagram. Max has possibly one of the best repainting talents I have seen in this hobby. And considering how young he is, it is insane. Quite well known for repainting Class 350s and Class 450s into the new Southwestern Railway 450s. And Max always does an absolutely outstanding job on them. So if you don't already, go and give Southwest Max a follow. Disgustingly under 1,000 followers on Instagram, but I think that needs to change. Max, the work that you do is outstanding, not only on your own railway, but on the repainting stuff that you do as well.
Yeah, it's outrageous. Also, he's a very nice guy, isn't he?
Yeah, very, very, very friendly. However, the first time that I met him, he literally came by the weathering desk and went, "Sam, really love what you do. Okay, I'm Southwest Max," and then just went. I was like, "Okay, bye."
Hi, bye. Flying did it.
which I can laugh about now. But yeah, absolutely outstanding, top bloke. So yeah, go give Southwest Max a follow. James, what have you got for us?
I've got Westfield Model Railway, a Great Western Railway, and his handle on YouTube is at Rancid Hamster. So that's a hell of a handle, isn't it?
That's a weird one for sure.
I think that beats Moldy Raspberry.
Just ridiculous.
That's great. What isn't so great, he's only got 701 subscribers, which I think is a bit of a shame because there's some absolutely lovely videos of his Great Western styled model railway. This is the fourth version, I believe, of Westfield. It's the current layout, and it's comprising of 4-track main line running through Westfield Station with trains running down and up from a 12-road feeder yard. There's upper level twin track tail chase and an end-to-end branch line, all connected to the station. So yeah, these are delightful videos. I quite enjoyed watching them. As I say, it's a really nice layout. And then on his channel, he's also got lots of other videos as well of like days out at Didcot Railway Centre and stuff like that. So there's a bit of real steam mixed in there too. Which is always an odd one because I don't know about you, but whenever I try and film real trains, people aren't interested in my videos in the slightest. They'll go watch someone who just always films real trains. It's very odd.
See, I'm weird in the sense that I like watching. So, like, if you do something where you go out for the day, or other YouTubers who usually do model rails, I do tend to watch them. But I know a lot of people are, and I think we spoke about this with Joseph from that model railway guy. It tends to be that the majority of people, if you are a model rail YouTube channel, you won't get as many videos on a day out or like a train spotting video as you will for the other things, which is odd.
It's yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what you people want. What do you people want?
What do you mean, you people?
And they just need to let us know. And how can they let us know?
So, if people do want to let us know what they want, you can get hold of me on Instagram at emperors_path. You can also find me on YouTube at Emperor's Path. James, how can they find you?
Yeah, if you want to find me, it's Western Signalman at YouTube, Western Signalman at Instagram, or Western Signalman at Outlook.com. And don't forget that the Model Rail Replacement Podcast also has its own Instagram account. You can find it under that name. Or if you want to email us, and talking of email, Dan, I did get your email. It was in the junk. I do apologise. I will reply, but there were some great ideas for the modular layout, building, etc. So yeah, I haven't ignored it. It's just I only found it the other day. I'm very slow to get around to these things. But if you want to be like Dan and email us, it's Model Rail RP. That's Romeo Papa at outlook.com. Well, that's us all done for this week. Next week, we talk about urban and countryside, or rural, I should say, layouts and deciding which one is the best one to model. So that's next week's topic. But for now, all I can say is that hopefully we've been entertaining, informative, and they replaced your model railway, if only just for a little bit. I've been James, and with me, it's been Sam. Thanks for listening.
This service terminates here. Please ensure you take all of your personal belongings with you.